Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. To see you people here in Durban, beautiful, beautiful place. You know, in London where I'm from, we see concrete, we see this, we see that. We don't see the greenery, the shrubbery, and the beauty that you guys see. So it's a very big blessing from Allah. Today I wanted to tell you something very basic, okay? Which is, how do you prove that Islam is the truth? Now, let me tell you something. We have many people nowadays, they are called atheists. Put your hands up if you have heard this word before. Okay, you sir, what does the word atheist mean? What is an atheist? Yeah, a person who doesn't believe in any God, okay? So then, we have to ask ourselves a question. How did we get here? So if you're speaking to an atheist, you say to him, listen, or you say to her, how did we get here? Could we have come from nothing? Now, may put your hand up if you do mathematics. You do mathematics. Oh, wait a minute, not everyone does mathematics. I thought this top school, everyone does mathematics. Maths, you know maths? Put your hand up if you do mathematics. Okay, everyone does mathematics. Let me give you an easy one, okay? What is 0 plus 0? Okay, if you got this one wrong, I would go to the principal and I would tell him, the students are not up to scratch here. But you know who's getting this one wrong? The atheist who's getting this one wrong. Because from nothing, nothing comes. You see? We couldn't have come from nothing. Do you understand? Yani, we could not have come from nothing. Do you agree with this? Okay. What about the universe? We live in the universe. We live on the earth, in the universe. Could the universe create itself? No, because it's like existing and not existing at the same time. It's like your mother giving birth to herself. Is this possible? Can your mother give birth to herself? Imagine if I tell you this, let me tell you something. If I tell you, I am not here, what would you think of this situation? If I said, I am not here, is this a good statement? Is it a true statement? Okay, so the universe cannot exist and not exist at the same time. The universe cannot create itself. So therefore, something must have done what? Something must have created the universe, right? Couldn't have come from nothing, couldn't create itself. So something must have put it there. This is the only option. So we explain to the atheists that you don't really have an option to believe in no God, because all of your options, they don't tell us how we came here. Do you understand this point? But then what if you say, there are many religions out there that they believe in more than one God? You might have heard, for example, our Christian friends mentioning the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. The Father is God, the Son is God, and the Holy Spirit is God, but there are not three gods, but one God. Have you heard of that one? Already some people are laughing. It's not a matter of laughing, it's just some belief systems of our friends here in South Africa. So we explain to them why this is not correct. We explain to them, I say, listen, if I ask who's the strongest in the class, maybe it's this one here, maybe it's that guy there, maybe it's this one there, I don't know who's the strongest here. I don't want to start any fights today. You go into the playground and find out. I'm not saying this, but I'm saying, let's say for the sake of argument, if I ask who is the cleverest in the class, who from the girls, who's the best at mathematics? Maybe it's this one here, maybe it's that one there, maybe it's I don't know. We have to find and see the matrix exam. We'll see who gets the highest points. Yeah? What I'm saying is, let's say you have three people, or three people, all of them are claiming to be the strongest ones. And they fight each other. And when they fight each other, one of them wins and one of them loses. So the winner is the strong one, and the loser is not the strongest one. Do you agree with this? So I would ask the question, I say to him, listen, if the father, the son had a fight, sorry to put it this way. I'm not sure if you watch MMA or UFC or boxing. Muhammad Ali was here before, it's called The Rumble in the Jungle with George Foreman. I'm not sure if you saw this thing. Anyway, if you bring the father and the son and they fight each other, which one will win? If you say the father will win, that means the son is not the God. If you say it's going to be double knockouts, this one will knock this one out and this one will, then both of them are not the God. If you say both of them will lose somehow, then both of them are not the God. So in other words, nothing makes sense except that there's one all-powerful. There can only be one all-powerful. Which is why we say the idea of a Father, Son, Holy Spirit, all of them are co-equal and co-dependent. This is impossible actually. With just a small argument which is mentioned in the Quran, you can dispel the notion of the Trinity. مَا اتَّخَذَ اللَّهُ مِنْ وَلَدٍ وَمَا كَانَ مَعَهُ مِنْ إِلَهٍ إِذًا لَذَهَبَ كُلُّ إِلَهٍ بِمَا خَلَقَ وَلَعَنَ بَعْضُهُمْ عَلَى بَعْضٍ. This is the argument in the Quran. In chapter 23 verse 91, that Allah has not taken a son and He didn't have a God with Him, because if He didn't have a God with Him, they would have fought one another and tried to outstrip one another for strength. It's a very easy argument. So we can prove, the first thing is that God exists. What was the first thing we said about this one? That we couldn't come from what? Yes, and the sisters can get involved, you know. It's a very inclusive school. We have to get everyone involved. We couldn't have come from nothing. The universe couldn't have created itself. Brilliant, excellent. So therefore something must have created the universe. And then the second thing to say that there is one God, we said that there cannot be more than one all-powerful. Otherwise what would happen? They would fight. And if they fight and they draw, that means both of them are not gods. If one of them wins, that means only one of them is God. If both of them lose, that means both of them are not. You understand it now. So then how do we prove that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was a true prophet and messenger of Islam? We prove that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the true prophet and messenger of Islam. First of all, we look at the book that he came with, which is the Quran. The Quran has no contradictions inside of it. A contradiction is when something opposes itself. Like me saying, I'm not here. This is a contradiction. So contradictions don't exist. The Quran does not have contradictions inside of it. The Quran is preserved. Once again, if you go and look at the Bible, you will find this one, New International Version, King James Version, and they all conflict and contradict with each other. So the Quran has a preserved text. But then there's more than this. The Quran and the Prophet Muhammad tells us of things which are going to happen in the future. Many things. He tells us where Islam will go. Because in the beginning it started in what is referred to now as Saudi Arabia, yes? But then it spread to so many different countries, and the Prophet told us exactly what country it will be. He told us it will go to Egypt. He told us it will go to Yemen. He told us it will go to Jordan. He told us it will go to Syria. He mentioned the countries by name. Many of you are from Indian heritage. He even mentioned to Rasulullah the word Al-Hind, which means India. I don't know if you have heard of this or not. He mentioned the word As-Sind, which nowadays is Pakistan. He said Islam will go to where Pakistan and will go where the Indians are. Can you believe this level of accuracy? Now if you compare this with the Bible says in Mark chapter 13, verse 26, that the whole heavens and the earth will be destroyed in one generation. But wait a minute. I'm still here. You're still here. We're in the year 2023. That was written 2,000 years ago. Nothing is destroyed. The Bible was wrong about that. So when the Bible talks about the future, it gets the situation wrong. When the Quran and the Hadith and the Prophet talks about the future, it gets the situation right every single time. This is unbelievable evidence. And there are many things that the Prophet told us are going to happen. Even the Prophet told us that the women will have abortions in the future. لَيُنْبِذَنَّ مَا فِي الرَّحِمِ. The abortions are going to happen. The Prophet told us ﷺ, that there are going to be people in the Ummah, Muslim world, that are going to be fat. Too many people fat. And don't look at their friends, please, yeah? Please don't bully them. He didn't say, look, you're all kids, you need to exercise and sport. Alhamdulillah, I see everyone look good. Everyone look good today. But he told us that يَظْهَرُ فِي الْأُمَّةِ السَّمَنِ, obesity will be in the Ummah Islamiyah. The Prophet told us that there will be diseases called sexually transmitted diseases. And that these sexually transmitted diseases will happen when people do haram things outside of marriage. And Allah will send those diseases there for that reason. You know here, there's many people with those diseases. And there are new diseases. But the Prophet told us that those diseases will be there because of people, they don't get married properly and start family properly and do things properly. So can you imagine that the Prophet ﷺ told us everything which is going to happen? He even told us that the world is going to be filled with interest. Like in the banks when they charge interest. I don't know if you've heard of this, but the Prophet told us about that. He even told us the Arab people will race to see who's got the highest buildings. And the tallest building in the world, where is it? It's in Dubai. And who was the one who made it? It's an Arab guy. It's an Arab guy who done that. And then the Saudi Arabian guy, he said, no, I have to compete. So have you ever been to, put your hands up, been to Mecca before? Many of you have been to Mecca. Have you seen the clock tower? That's the third tallest building in the world. I'm not sure if you have heard of that. And the reason why they made that is because they wanted to compete with who? Dubai. They have a competition. It reaches the top, high buildings. And the Prophet said that the barefooted Arabs يَتَطَاوَلُونَ فِي الْبُلْيَانِ, that they will compete to see who makes the highest buildings. The only way to know that is to know how much these Arabs were going to make. The Arabs went from camels to Cadillacs in one generation. They found oil inside their deserts. Otherwise they could never build something like that. Because someone could say, well, self-fulfilling prophecy. But it's not self-fulfilling because you have to have money to have such a big 1 billion, 10 billion, I don't know how much dollars, which is like, I don't know, 50 billion rands, to create this long building, big one. So I'm saying that everything the Prophet told us, it happened. This is evidence. It could not be that the Prophet Muhammad was a liar. No way. Because if he was a liar, first of all, how comes the people in his town called him the truthful one? You've heard this before, right? As-Sadiq al-Amin. He could not have been deluded or mental. Mental people act in a certain way. They start doing this, they start doing that. And anyone can recognize a mental person. I was in a masjid one time, in a mosque, and I was praying in London, and this guy started making noises. It was like, ha 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 ha, ha 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 ha, and I was getting more and more angry. I was like, this guy's making a mockery of Islam. I came out of the prayer, I looked at his face, and immediately I realized he has mental health issues. So my anger went away completely, straight away. We know how to recognize an insane person. And the Prophet ﷺ was not like this. So if he wasn't mental, if he wasn't insane, and he wasn't telling lies, then he must have been speaking the truth, especially when we have such evidence. So when you now speak to test you guys, and I want one female to answer this question, because we had a lot of people, very zealous people, very clever people. What is some of the things, or what are some of the things that the Quran has that no other book has? It doesn't have something beginning with C. It's a big word. Yes. Good. Contradictions. It doesn't have any contradictions. She's right about that. The Quran is a word beginning with P, which means it's still intact. One more from the sisters. One more from the sisters. Yes. Beautiful, excellent. It's preserved, it's intact. Do you see? The Prophet made something about the future. Now you can answer. What is it? Predictions. Excellent. Were they accurate or inaccurate? What about other books? Are they accurate or inaccurate in other books? Which shows you that this one is true and this one is? Isn't that the case? Let me ask you guys, do you watch cricket? Put your hand up if you watch cricket. I just want to know. Oh, the girls don't watch this. Okay, put your hand up if you watch football. Okay, now we've got more, right? South Africa had the World Cup some time ago, right? They done very poorly. They were eliminated in the first round. I think it was the only team that was a host to be eliminated. But that year, Ghana did very well. I'm not sure if you remember. I was really cheering for Ghana that time. Do you remember this unbelievable match? Anyway, let me ask you a question. Who was the first team that South Africa played? Do you remember? Mexico, okay. If I say, look, I'm pretending to be a prophet. Let's say someone pretending to be a prophet. I say, look, South Africa is going to play Mexico. Yeah? And say, I'm getting all my information, not from myself, but from God himself, the all-knowing one. And what's going to happen is South Africa is going to beat Mexico 3-1. There's no doubt about it, that's going to happen. Then they play, South Africa and Mexico play with each other. And Mexico beats South Africa 2-0. What would you say? Am I speaking from God or my own self? My own self. My own self. So isn't it dangerous when someone predicts the future and says this is going to happen and then it doesn't happen? It's very dangerous. It can tell you who's speaking the truth and who's speaking something from God. So this is why I'm telling you it's the proof. Now, how long do we have left? Yes, we have some time. Now we're living in an age, I want to be open and honest with you, we can prove our religion. Have we not just shown that the religion of Islam, all the major tenets, La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, can be proven? Yes. We can prove our religion. However, there are some people with other ideologies and beliefs that want to try and make you believe in their things. For example, there are people who believe in something called LGBTQ ideology. Have you heard of this? Put your hand up if you've heard of this. Okay, calm down. I know it's a very exciting, hopefully not too exciting topic. Shh, calm down please, yes, kids. Anyways, what they say is this, and this is, I want you to remember these arguments please. They say, a man and a man, or a woman and the woman, they can be together in the relationship. This is what they say. And if you ask them why, do you know what they say to you? They will say to you, because, listen, they say, because, my friend here in the front row, you keep talking, I'm going to have to put you in the front, this one, yeah? So please, I used to be a teacher as well. I used to be a teacher as well in schools. We used to say to them, why do you believe in these things? He will reply to you, he says, look, as long as I'm not harming anyone else, I can do whatever I want. This is called the harm principle. What's it called? Harm principle. This is what they believe. It's like a religion. Liberalism is like a religion. This is called the liberal religion. They believe in liberalism. And they believe that so long as you don't harm anyone else, you can do whatever you want. Now I want to ask you a question. It's called LGBTQ. Lesbian, bisexual, queer, lesbian, gay, bisexual, trans, and queer. But there's some things here that are missing, actually, which I believe they're going to put on there. Do you know what this is? And sorry to say, I know some of you are young, but this is the argument I would say. And I know you are young, but I'm going to say this. Hopefully it creates no trauma. If the idea is you can do whatever you want, so long as you don't harm anyone else. What about a brother and a sister? Can they be in a marriage? Yeah, incest. No, I'm sorry to say. They have not got LGBTQI, have they? No, but hold on a second. If you think about it, they could argue brother and sister together in a marriage. Well, so long as they're not harming anyone else, what's the problem? It's your same beliefs. It's your same argumentation. You can use it for brother and sister. They will come back, you know what they will say? I've had these conversations. You know what they say? I'll tell you what they say. I'm giving you the secrets here, yeah? They will say, when the brother and sister come together and they create a baby, it's got deformities. Like you've got different eyes, got maybe this, it's got that. But we know that they don't have to they can use contraception. So we can say to the guys, why don't you include in your LGBTQ the incest? Because if you can do whatever you like, you can include everything, you can do whatever you like. I had these conversations, and you can see them on YouTube with the people I say them this to them. Say, you're saying you can do whatever you want, so long as you don't harm anyone else. You should include the incest as well. They get so angry, and you know what one of them said? Said it's not natural. I said, wait, hold on a second. I said, hold on a second. You're saying it's not natural for the brother and the sister to be together. I agree with you. But we also say it's not natural for the man and the man to be together. Isn't that right? So if you want to use the natural argument, we can use the natural argument. And this is what happens when you don't have a book telling you what is right and what is wrong. They make their own things up and they end up destroying their lives. There's another ideology out there called transgender ideology. Have you heard of this? Someone, he says he's a man, he's XY chromosomes, I'm not sure if you've studied it in school. And he says, I'm a female, I'm XX, he says this. And he wants everyone to respect what they call the pronouns. Now here's the problem. You guys, put your hands up if you're 11 to 13 years old. Okay, put your hands up if you're 13 to 15 years old. Excellent. Put your hands up if you're 15 to 18 years old. Beautiful. Now, look, imagine this. Imagine this. What year are you in? You keep talking, brother. What's the year you're in? Huh? What year? What did he say? I don't know what he said. 2000, no, not what year did you born, but what year are you in school? Grade. Year 7, sorry, yes. In England we call it year. We call it year 7. You're grade 7, yes? And you guys are grade 12, is that right? Grade 12. Okay, let me ask you a question. One day what's your name? Mohammed. You go into the grade 12 classroom and you open the door and you sit down and just like nothing happened. I'm just imagine that. And the teacher will say, get up. And you say, no. Say, I'm not getting up. And the teacher will say, why don't you get up? I say, listen, I identify as a 15-year-old. You have to respect my age identification. He'll say, no, you have dissension. He says, no, how dare you go against my age? How dare you go? Maybe you wouldn't say that. But you see the point. Now let me give you a worse situation. I don't want to pick. What's your name here? You're talking about. What's your name? Yusuf. I'm picking on the grade 7s. And you go into the grade 7s as boys and girls, right? Is it boys classes and girls classes? Separate. So imagine Yusuf, one day you go into the girls class. No, I'm just saying. You go into the girls class and sit right next to, I don't want to ask your name, but you sit next to the sister. And you say, look, I identify as a girl. Okay. Can you see the problems this would create? Now let me make it even worse. Let me make it worse. Let me tell you a story. I used to be a teacher in South London. In London, in England, yes? Wallahi, this is a true story. I used to be a teacher, like teach English and history. Listen to this. There was a guy in grade 8. He was a big black guy. And his face, honestly. Listen, he was a student. And his face had stubbles, you know stubble? Like when you shave your beard. So I went to the staff room I said to the guys there, I said, listen, this guy is not 13 years old. They said, how dare you say that? They said, how dare you say this? You know, are you trying to, is this racism because he's a black guy? Are you trying to, what are you trying to say? This is his build, this is this, this is that. Honestly, I said, listen, I don't care what you call me. I'm African myself, you know, whatever. This guy is not 13, I refuse. And then, wallahi, I saw him in the playground. He had girlfriends. And the year 8 girlfriends, which is grade 8, he had 2 of them. I don't know how he done it. Even the men here today can't do this. The big men, they cannot have 2 wives in the Muslim world. And this 13-year-old boy, he had 2 girlfriends walking like that. And they were respecting him. He's thinking, this guy. And he got into a fight one day and destroyed his opponent. Even the year 10s, or the grade 10s, they were so scared of this guy. Anyway, it turned out, this guy was Nigerian, and it turned out he was 21 years old. Yes. It turned out he was 21. Yes. It's a true story. They called the Nigerian embassy because another person got worried, and they said, no, his date of birth is not 2008 or whatever it was. His date of birth is actually 2000 or something like that. And they said he was 21 years old or whatever it was, and it became a scandal. And then the newspapers, I called the newspapers. I called them. Usually they call me because of my mistakes that I do and stuff. This time I called them. I said, how much do you want? I'll tell you all the story. They said, well, it was called the Guardian paper. They said, we're not going to offer any money for this. I said, forget it, man. You guys deal with it yourself. I don't care about this, you know, this matter. But the point is that when the transgender ideology, when you say whatever you like to say about yourself, that creates injustice. Because now the grown man can go into the child's room and pretend to be a child. Now the man can go into the woman's female lockers. And the woman can go into the male's lockers. In England, one time I was changing, maybe my wife, hopefully she doesn't hear this news, and there was a woman that came, she was saying, hello, hello. I was like, what's going on? She was like, trying to identify as a man or something. But I believe that she was a pervert. I believe she had ulterior motives. And that's what the transgender ideology produces. It produces perverts with ulterior motives. So how do you respond to somebody, let me ask a question, who tries to convince you of transgender ideology? You would say to them, these are the things that can happen. So with this, we have been able to cover the following: how to prove Islam is true, how to prove God exists, how to prove God is one, how to prove the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ is a true prophet, how to defeat liberal religion and LGBT ideology, and how to defeat transgender ideology. Now these are important things for you to be able to have, because in the future, guys, you will be affected by this. They will come to you and try to attack you. But now you know all the arguments. Now you know what to say to them. And you'll be surprised that these people will give up very easily. They don't have truth. You have the truth. Wallahi, we have the truth as the Muslim community in South Africa. Any questions? I'll only take one. Any from the sisters? No one has a question? That means everyone knows what I've just covered. Thank you very much. Wa jazakumullah.